Hi, it is Bonita, and welcome to everyone to my channel. This is more for me to try to find out more about the condition that I have and see if any of you are experiencing any of the things that I'm experiencing. I had an epidural for a herniated disc and stenosis on July 28th, 2021, and as soon as I had never had an epidural before. I've had 6 kids, and I was face down on the table, and as soon as he pulled the needle out, my head filled with this pressure that just kept building and building and building and building until I thought my head was going to explode. I thought I was having a stroke. And so I'm laying face down with my head like this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, my head. And they were like, your head hurts? And I'm go, yes, I feel like I'm having a stroke. And so the doctor told them to take me back to a room, start an IV, and watch me. And I had watched everybody come out in little wheelchairs, so I knew that this was not the way it was supposed to go. And so then he came in the room, and I'm still like this, and he told them to give me fentanyl. Well, I didn't even know what that was. So they gave me fentanyl through my IV, and then a little bit later he came back, and it still hurt so bad over here. This was a little better, but this was so bad. And so he told them to give me 50 more, which I guess was fentanyl. And so then he comes back a little bit later, and I'm still just hurting so bad. And he said, yeah, we had a puncture of your spinal canal, and 1% of people this happens to. Just made it sound very, very fluke incident. 1% of the people this happens to, and so we're going to need to do a procedure to patch that hole. And I said, well, I'm supposed to be at work in an hour and 20 minutes. And he said, yeah, you're not going today. And so I said, what do you have to do? And he said, well, we need to take your blood and put it in the back and try to patch the hole. And I just started crying. I was like, I cannot have another needle in my back. That hurts so bad. I cannot have another needle in my back. And he said, if you don't do this, you will be incapacitated in an hour. And I said, well, I didn't even bring a driver. Everybody told me I didn't need a driver. Do I need a driver now? And he's like, yeah, you need a driver. And the nurse was standing there, and I said, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And she said, we've had people leave and think they don't need a blood patch, and within 2 hours they're calling back and they are in a horrible pain, and the doctor's already gone for the day. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what is going on? So I agreed to have the blood patch, and they took me back in. I texted my husband, let him know, and I went back in, and they put me back down, and he put the needle in me again, and this time it hit like my sciatica on the right side of my leg, and it burned my entire leg clear to my toenail, and I was crying. I was going, oh my gosh, my sciatica, you've hit my sciatica. And the nurse squatted down and held my hands and said, just lay still, it'll be over soon, just don't move. And I was like, oh my gosh, my sciatica. So it felt like the needle got rammed straight into that. So when they got done, I hurt so bad I could not move. They had to flip me over onto a gurney and take me back to a room. I was there for like an hour and a half and 2 hours, and he came in and said, take it easy the rest of the day. And so they took me home. I sat in my recliner, and the nurse called the next day around 1:30, I think, but I felt too bad. I didn't even know the phone rang. And around 3 something, I was like, wow, my eyes have been burning like gasoline like this entire time. And I was like, I wonder if I'm running a fever. I had been so out of it, I didn't even know or even think about the fact I could have been running a fever. So I went and checked, and by this point I'm running like 100. And so apparently it had been a lot higher before that, because it took me that long for me to feel like I might need to check my temperature. So anyway, over the next few days, it got bad. It got real bad. And I kept thinking every day it's going to get better, right? Every day it's going to get better. And I started researching blood patches on the internet, trying to learn something, trying to figure out why I felt so bad. I was nauseous. I was lightheaded. I felt like my head wasn't attached to my body. I felt like my head was floating around. I felt like I couldn't stand up without like running my fingers along the wall for equilibrium or holding on to something. I just felt so bad. And of course my back hurt from that. My butt hurt, something terrible. And I kept thinking, and my leg, on my left leg, it was numb from like the knee down. My foot was numb. And I thought, well, it's an epidural. It's just going to take a while for it to wake up, right? And so I didn't think that much about it. I felt my head felt so bad that I really wasn't worried about like my leg being numb. I thought, oh, that's going to wake up. And so I don't know, maybe at some point during the next week, I think, I realized when I was working that my vision was blurry. I thought, why is my vision blurry? I just been looking at the computer too long. So I went outside and the trees were blurry, the leaves were blurry, all of my car was blurry. I was like, man, what is going on with me? And so I had been in contact with the hospital. I'd been in contact. They'd had the doctor call me once. He was like, just drink more caffeine. You're just in the 1% that feels bad for a week. Drink more caffeine. And so I'd been drinking so much caffeine, I thought maybe that was the reason why I was feeling nauseous. And I can't remember what day it was, but I mean like a week and a half or 2 weeks later, I was still in bad shape. And so I decided, I think it was August 9th. This is September 28th to August 9th. I'm feeling bad. So I finally told my husband, I need to go to the emergency room, because I woke up that morning and I was confused and I didn't know how to run my computer and I didn't know how to do my job. And my vision got blurry and I couldn't see again. And before, it had happened a couple of times, but it just happened for like an hour and a half, maybe 20 minutes. This time it happened for the rest of the day. I could not see. And so my husband picked me up, took me to the emergency room, and they gave me 2 bags of IV fluids, and the doctor said, I think you still have a spinal leak. All your symptoms look like you have a spinal leak. So he gave me the 2 bags of fluid. He said it should heal on its own. This should help it, having the extra fluids go ahead and heal on its own. Go ahead and follow up with your doctor. So I followed up with my doctor the next day, and she wanted 2 MRIs, one with contrast. And so I wanted to see if I had a brain bleed, wanted to see if I still had a spinal leak. She thought I still had a spinal leak too. Sent me in on August 11th for an MRI, and on August 13th I found out that it said that I had arachnoiditis. And I was like, what the heck is that? So I started looking it up, and everywhere it's saying there's no cure. There's no cure. People are paralyzed. People are in horrible pain. And I'm like, oh my God, what has happened? And so anyway, my doctor was like, you need to get into a neurologist. And so I've been trying to get into a neurologist, and I finally got into one yesterday on the 31st of August, which otherwise it was going to be November before I could get in. But I happened to call just as someone canceled, and I told the lady, I said, listen, I've had blurred vision now for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It's not going away. I woke up 2 days after the emergency room visit with blurred vision. And so I woke up on August 11th with blurred vision, and it never went away. I still have blurred vision. I still have blurred vision looking at you. I don't understand what's happening. I think one of my nerves maybe is clumped together that's affecting my vision, or some spinal fluid is cut off. I have no idea what is going on. All I know is I don't want this to continue where it affects my vision. Please let me know if you've had vision issues and if they've gotten better, because this is really scary. And so that's where I'm at right now. The doctor wants to do a nerve test and see my baseline. Well, I don't know what good that's going to do. We're going to see my baseline of where I'm at now. But he flat told me there's no cure. He sat down and said, arachnoiditis. You do know there's no cure, right? And then when I got ready to leave, he said, I'm sorry this happened to you. Well, this is my life. This is your life. What has happened to you? Please share your story. We need to bring awareness to this situation. We need to bring awareness that this is even a possibility of things like this happening, because I did not have a clue that this could happen to me, and it has happened to me. So thank you for listening to my story. I'll give you updates as I have them, and please let me know your story. Thanks for watching.